Let's quickly move on to our next discussion, where as the country continues to battle inflation, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is taking more proactive steps to normalize the situation. The Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN has decided to tighten monetary policy by raising the monetary policy rate to 22.75% from 18.75%. And with the inflation rate at 29.90%, the 12-member committee said the new MPR is part of moves to tackle rising costs of living. Well, the CBN Governor, Yemi Cardoso, who chairs the MPC, also said the cash reserve ratio has been raised to 45%, while the liquidity ratio was left unchanged at 30%. Well, let's share the story by our correspondent, Ademola Lawrence.
According to CBN data, this is the highest MPC rate ever and is aimed at mopping up excess naira liquidity. Yemi Cardoso, governor of the CBN, who chaired the Monetary Policy Committee meeting for the first time since he assumed office in September 2023. The governor of the central bank talked about a clampdown on crypto exchange, including Binance. He said over $26 billion has passed through Binance Nigeria in the last 4 years.
In the case of Binance, in the last 1 year alone, $26 billion has passed through Binance Nigeria from sources and users who we cannot adequately identify.
The governor says the CBN will ensure that the economy is highly liquid and money will only get to genuine players in the economy.
The committee decided to further tighten monetary policy as follows. 1, raise the MPR by 400 basis points to 22.75 from 18.75%. As the central bank is concerned, we are moving to a very aggressive regulatory environment. We are moving to a very aggressive regulatory environment where those policies have been coming out, as you can see, and tolerance for people not to abide by the regulations that are coming out and to comply is zero. People will have to abide by those regulations, and those that do not will face the consequences for not doing so.
Mr. Cardoso also revealed that $400 million was paid to settle some outstanding foreign exchange commitments.
About $400 million that have to those that have been so identified. And we are committed to continue to do so in one form or the other to those that are genuinely identified and proven cases.
Mr. Cardoso says for the CBN, collaborating with the EFCC is very important, and they are also determined to do everything in their power to stop manipulation in the market. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Abuja.
Now joining us for more discussion on this issue is an economist, Nemeka Ombiariri. Well, before we get to that discussion, let's quickly have our, get our perspective from our guests in the studio, BKO. First off, what's your take on this matter? Because we understand that it's going to affect a lot of things, individuals, businesses. What's your take on the outcome of the MPC meeting?
One big takeaway for me from the meeting was the stated resolve of the CBN governor to continue the steps being taken to sanitize the foreign exchange markets. He said something along the line of, we are moving into a very aggressive regulatory environment. That is to tell you how determined the CBN governor is to stop some of the infractions, some of the fraud being perpetrated, which they've relied upon to weaken our currency. We talked about Binance Nigeria. I'm sure that by the time Dr. Obiareri joins us, he too will be able to say a few things about these guys. What they are determined to do is to push the naira to as much as 3,000 to $1. There's a lot of speculation, so much nonsense going on. People sitting in front of their computers and simply speculating. And individuals who are running BDCs, they simply go and check what these guys have quoted and then determine that, okay, it is that rate that they are going to use to sell as exchange rates. It's terrible what we are doing to our country. We allowed a lot of these infractions to take place. Nobody did anything. There are some friends that we are discussing who said, if some of these steps had been taken by the former CBN governor, we won't be where we are today. Everyone now knows that, look, the fact that they've sent you dollars from America or anywhere does not mean that you should cash it in dollars. Why do you need to cash it in dollars? Is it a legal tender here?
Absolutely.
It's not the medium of exchange in our country. Why is this nonsense going on? Can you do that in South Africa? With a gun to a trader's neck, you will not be able to buy anything with $1 in South Africa. I double dare anybody to try it because I've tried to do it before in Durban and I didn't succeed, despite all my begging. A country is respected to the extent that its laws are obeyed. Where you have a situation in which impunity reigns, people don't obey the law, people see the regulations and bypass the regulations, you can't have a good country. So these steps being taken to strengthen the naira must go on.
Right.
And I know that it won't stop. Already, some of the people who are saying all kinds of negative things, some of them on social media, they are reckoning with the fact that the naira is firming up now. It's firming up. And we still
so
don't...
you think with these policies is what is causing the firm up of
Of
the
course,
naira?
of
Don't
course.
you think perhaps it will slip back? Because this
No,
is
no,
not
no.
the first time that the
No.
naira firmed and then slipped to where it is
No,
right now.
no, you see, the thing is, we have not addressed the issue of liquidity.
Right.
Liquidity, when liquidity improves, things will certainly get better. And I've told people that the last administration sold crude oil in advance. So where are you even going to get money to improve liquidity? Until those contracts are exhausted, this administration cannot... Why do you think they could not supply Dangote with crude oil? Why? Or you didn't read about it? We can't supply Dangote with crude oil. Dangote had to go and get crude oil from outside our country because we are producing for the people that had bought in advance. So the new administration can't even earn new money from... can't even earn money from crude oil sales currently. So there are all kinds of problems. I think that if that much money, was talking about, how much did he say? 26 billion coming in from sources that we can't explain. That's why now, if you want to sell $10,000 to a bureau de change operator, you must disclose the source. It's part of the regulations. We should have been doing this. Why do we need 5,000 bureau de change operators, for example? What are they doing?
There's no need.
Does it not sound odd to you? 5,000 bureau de change operators? Is the dollar a commodity? Is it yam? Is it beans? Simply to trade in it.
Yeah.
Let me stop at this point.
Tunde, your perspective on this?
Well, I think, like I said, I love the choice of words used by our central bank governor, that they're going to aggressively regulate the environment. You see, the problem with Nigeria is that in as much as we have people with genuine intention in policy making, there are a lot of people who are in decision-taking or implementation of such policy that does not love Nigeria for anything, because it is not for short of want of ideas or brilliant people that can turn Nigeria around. But there are so many evil people in powerful positions who have been influenced or encouraged over the years to continue destabilizing Nigeria by their decisions because they wanted Nigeria in their own way. So our own resolve is to encourage the central bank governor and the members of the MPR to remain steadfast and sincere in their approach, because sincerity also matters a lot. When you are very sincere, you are ready to remove every obstacle on the way. And the man said 2 weeks ago that they are prepared to return Nigeria back to what it is. So what I think is that, like I said, every Nigerian, I always tell people that no matter the problem we have today, an African Nigerian is part of that problem. Like he said, if a brother sends $500 to me from the US, what do I need dollars to do? To exchange it and give it to the bank so that I can take Naira and use Naira to purchase. But when schools in Nigeria, because it's also part of it, when schools that are domiciled in Nigeria are charging people for dollars, what are they telling people? When universities are charging people for $20,000, what are they telling Nigerians? They are telling us that they have no confidence in the economy of the country in which they are based, and they are systematically destroying the currency of that country, which is the only recognized means of legal tender in that particular country. So I want the central bank to go a step further. All secondary schools, all universities, all polytechnics that are charging dollars, they should be compelled to stop. If you like, you can charge 10 million naira. Ask people to bring naira, not dollars.
Indeed.
I think until we do this thing, we should back up this policy with decisive actions to stop all those things.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly bring in an economist, Nnameka Obiariri, to give his perspective on this issue. Good to have you on the program this evening. So, first off, break for us in layman terms the outcome of the MPC meeting. What does this mean, and how does this affect rising costs of living in the country today?
Basically, what the CBN did and what Yemi Cardoso did is to achieve a little bit of stability in the foreign exchange market. Nigeria is grappling with hydra-headed problems. We have inflation on one hand, we have forex instability on one hand, and we have insecurity across the federation, which is impeding on productivity. Basically, it has two options. One of the drivers of high cost of living in Nigeria is the instability of the forex market. I'll give you an example. And of course, like some of your colleagues listed, there are a lot of sabotage, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of, Shylock activities within the system. I asked this question. In December 2023, a bag of cement was selling for 5,000 naira. 80% of the raw materials used to produce cement are domesticated. January, February, a bag of cement is selling for 15,000. What are the input costs that drove the price of cement by 200% to the level? And who are the producers of cement? And how did it get to this level? These are the questions we are not asking. And then some of them are still part of the advisory committee to the president on how they can bring down the cost of living in Nigeria, which is not properly done, which is very hypocritical. Now, let's look at the numbers. What Yemi Cardoso simply did was, by raising the MPR at 22.75%, with inflation at 29%, what he's trying to do is to encourage foreign portfolio investors. Of course, they are hot money to inflow dollar. Since there are no liquidity in the market, the previous government before this government practically drained the pockets of Nigeria and left huge unpaid bills of about $7 billion. Not just that they emptied the treasury, they left unpaid bills of $7 billion, as Yemi Cardoso made us to understand. And you even look at what happened over the last 8 years. I am even surprised that this country is still standing. Over $120 billion was lost by way of $22 billion lost every year from crude oil thefts, from inefficiencies, and from losses. Crude oil was 2.3 million barrels a day when Buhari took over. By the time Tinubu took over, it was less than 1 million. That was the dire strait of Nigeria. And of course, most of them have even been sold in advance. 16 trillion naira, $34 billion wasted in subsidies and turnaround maintenance program on the refinery that never worked. Ways and means 23 trillion and accumulated interest of 7 trillion on it, which is about 30 trillion today. Like you rightly, Yemi Cardoso mentioned, 10 trillion naira wasted by way of intervention by the CBN, Humanitarian Affairs Ministry, and every other thing, yet there was no impact on the real sector of the economy.
Yes.
So Nigeria was practically comatose. Yes, we are seeing results. You know, like some of your colleagues said, all these things we're talking about, finance, speculation, are actually symptoms of the symptomatic manifestations of the problems that plagued Nigeria over the last 8 years. We are not even addressing the root cause. And the root cause is the illiquidity of the dollar supply. How do we ramp up oil production to the level of at least 2.5 million barrels, 3 million barrels a day? At least, so that we can be able to at least cover up that gap. You know, there's something we are missing here. Naira lost value so much with dollar, not because the level of dollar inflow in Nigeria was less than outflow. In fact, net, if all the dollars in Nigeria were warehoused in Nigeria are not criminally looted out through conduits, we will have had at least net position of $184 billion that will have been inherited by the Tinubu regime. But those monies were frittered away. And I expect while we are lamenting and complaining, Emefiele was not the only one who played a part. There are more than 100 other guys that were part of that team, both at the executive level. We need to start asking questions. Obasanjo was very, very bold about it. He came to power. Things were as rough as it is today. Obasanjo did not shy away from calling the Abacha cronies to come and at least negotiate and bring back some of the things they did. You know, Nigerians will not believe that we are seriously committed to reforms when those who carted away our monies are still walking around prancing about free. We need to ask questions. Now, to stop the bleeding, beyond what Yemi Cardoso has done, you know, I feel sorry for him. I still repeat, the problem is grappling is just 10%. 90% are on the physical side. How do we stop the use of dollar cash in Nigeria? I expect President Tinubu to send an executive bill to the National Assembly. Naira is our local currency.
Yes.
We don't need to be seeing dollar being thrown about left and right. A law should be passed. Nobody should be seen with anything more than $1,000 cash. Once you're coming into Nigeria, either by your cash or your transfer, as you come in with your dollar, negotiate whatever rate. It's an open market. Pay your dollar into the account and take Naira. And again, nobody should be allowed to move dollars out of Nigeria except through documentary letter of credit from M's and from A's. If you legitimately made your dollar, you want to go and buy a house in Maryland, fill forms, document it, register it through CBN so that we can see what happened. What basically happened in Nigeria was that most of the monies that left Nigeria did not go through the CBN window. Commercial banks are also part of it. Yes. And that is why Yemi Cardoso is now singing there is going to be stringent regulation. But for the regulation to be effective, there must be legislation backing it up. Let there be an executive bill. Nobody should transact anything more than $1,000 cash. If you have your dollar, go and pay it to your dollar account. If you want to collect school fees in dollar, let there be a transfer so that EFCC can be able to track it and know what you're doing with it. If we do this and then put in place this restructured security architecture, we are very much aware. Despite wasting $27 billion in security expenses, when Buhari became president, we had insecurity only in the Northeast and the North Central. My heart bled yesterday when I was going through the social media. I saw a man in Katsina State, in Wura local government, who lost all his families to bandits, who even destroyed the health center. And here was a state that had a commander-in-chief for 8 years, squandered $27 billion, and ended up sharing security across the 6 regions of Nigeria. The current government must take urgent steps. It's a matter of Marshall Plan to devolve security. If an Amatokun is empowered to have AK-47, to have armored personnel carrier, and to be properly equipped like the bandits who go about with RPGs, there's no inch of the Southwest that will be invaded by bandits. There is no traditional ruler that will be beheaded. We need to tackle the physical side. Maybe doing a lot. But the program he has put in place is going to distort a lot of things in manufacturing sector.
All right, let me hold your thoughts.
People who are in the market are going to suffer.
Okay, BKO has a perspective to share on this. Go ahead.
Dr. Obiareri, I want you to talk to us about this Binance Nigeria that Dr. Yemi Cardoso claimed about $26 billion came in through them without the government being able to even validate the source of such money. Walk us through the extent of speculation, the extent of sabotage that this Binance Nigeria and others are doing, especially to our currency?
I think the Binance is one of the crypto platforms and crypto exchanges. I wish to disagree a bit that Binance contributed to where we are today. You know, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that just like any crypto exchange, Binance sets their own rates within their system. But you know, the argument has always been, oh, the BTCs, they wake up in the morning and they go to Binance, they check the rates, and then they will take their rates. The BTCs are actually intermediaries between those who are seeking for dollar and those who are selling dollar. And these BTCs do not have dollar unless it is given to them. They do not export goods to earn dollar. If the dollar demand in Nigeria are being certified through the official window, nobody will go to the BTCs. Even if Binance let them set up their exchange rate to be 2,000. As long as the CBN is able to meet up the supply side of the dollar, they are wasting their time. Of course, you saw what Yemi Cardoso is already doing. As of today, the exchange rate has crashed to about 1,460, up from a high of 1,800 4 days ago. Of course, like I said, these are just temporary measures. If we don't fix the physical side, after this temporary loss, it will go up again. And if you look at Binance, over the last 1 year, all the crypto exchanges, even beyond Binance, total transaction that passed through those exchanges is estimated to be about 34 trillion naira. When you convert it to dollars, it's actually more than 26, about 57 billion dollars. But if you also look at the transactions that pass through the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, it's about 600,000 trillion, which is far higher than what went through the Binance exchange. Like I said, people that go to those exchanges, it's not as if they go there, they move dollar to those exchanges. They use naira to buy crypto coins. It may be repos, it may be a USDT, it may be any other coin that they want to buy. If we fix the supply side of the dollar, whatever is happening in the crypto exchange market will not affect our market. And that is the truth. If you even look at the crypto market side, the South African market is far bigger than that of Nigeria. Yet it does not affect their local currency. Because if you look at it, in 2022, South Africa exported $126 billion worth of goods and services. They only imported 97, so they had excess. Now, what we should be putting ourselves with in Nigeria is how do we shore up the supply side and stop the criminal demand for the dollar? You know, there is this dangerous thing we are doing, focusing every time on the federal government of Nigeria. As of today, even assuming Yemi Cardoso's magic wand works, and we squeeze liquidity from the market, which is actually hurting manufacturers in the reasons, because anybody going to the market to go and borrow money now from a bank must collect money at 35% interest rate, which is very, very high for manufacturers and those engaged in honest enterprise. Basically, what we should be doing is how do we stop the 60% criminal demand for the dollar, which is why he has never decided he's going to work closely with the central, with the EFCC, because most of these governors, most of these people in our 1,300 MTAs, go and watch the trajectory. Once they collect FAC, collect JAC, collect ITR, they go after the dollar. And when they go after this dollar, the next thing is either they are hiding it in their basement or they are trying to find ways of moving it out of Nigeria without going through the official route of from M and from A. So to help Yemi Cardoso, that is where President Tinubu comes in. EFCC cannot tackle the governor because most of them have immunity. They can only go after their agents. But how do you stop them? Pass a law. Ban use of dollar cash in Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody, if you are seen with anything more than $1,000 cash, 2 years imprisonment without option of fine.
Yes.
And then anybody who wants to move dollar out of this country must steal from M or from A. Any bank that flouts it and transfer dollar out of Nigeria without going through those formal route will be removed immediately and sanctioned. The regulation is trying to put in place must be backed with physical laws and regime that will support him. I know it is going to be very hard for a politician because most of them still need cash for their bribery and corruption. But to help Yemi Cardoso and to help the EFCC, we need to put in place this. And if you do this, ramp up oil output, increase security. I give you an example.
to fix the insecurity is no brainer. If you empower Amatokun, arm them sophisticatedly the way the bandits are armed, and they get every community in the southwest, do the same thing in the southeast. Security is indigenous. There is no bandit that can enter any inch of the land in the southwest, talk less of beheading an Oba or a traditional land. We know what to do.
Right.
Tinubu promised us national conference when he was governor. He promised us state police. Beyond even state police that will take time, let us empower the local community architecture we have now.
Right.
If we do this, farmers will go back to farm.
Right.
There will be productivity. Most of the things we import will produce here, and Naira will stabilize over time.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Nnameka Obiari, we appreciate your insights on this very discussion this evening. Well, that's where we leave this discussion for now.